I ended my last video on this channel with this joke. Please, somebody buy my plans. I haven't sold a single copy yet and I put so much time. And that was more about, boy, did I misjudge that I thought that there was demand for plans for these chairs when there wasn't. It was in fact 6 days that I hadn't sold a single copy. And I guess that sort of struck a nerve because even though I wasn't trying to sell those plans, it prompted over 300 people to buy copies of those plans, mostly to support me. In fact, I had sold 17 copies before somebody emailed me saying that the download link didn't work. I guess most people didn't really care. But if you do want to build those chairs, they can actually also be built with a dowel jig. That would be one of these self-centering dowel jigs, although you'd have to move it a little bit to space it to put dowels in. 2 on the front would be fine, 4 here, and then for the back rungs, what you have to do is take one side off and then just clamp it so that you're referencing off of just the front edge and get the consistent spacing for those. But I imagine most people have no intention of building those chairs, so maybe at some point in the future I'll be saying, please somebody build my chairs. So I used to rely on plan sales almost exclusively for monetizing my content, but that's been in a slow decline over the past 3 years. So my standard reference now is if I'm down only 30% year over year, I'm doing okay. So it's pretty much an exponential decay and halves every 2 years. But the pandemic has actually been good. So for the first time in a very long time, starting March, I've actually been up year over year. Although now I'm about the same as it was year over year. So the pandemic is still affecting it to some extent, but not as much as it used to. Because I was expecting to be down 30% now, and right now I'm about the same as I was year over year. Not counting sales of these chair plans, that gave it a nice little bump. And I used to, up to about 2.5 years ago, not even turn on the advertisement on my videos until they were about a month old because I didn't want the regulars to be hit with the advertisements. But with sales declining, I figured, well, everybody else is using the ads, so people aren't going to hold it against me if I turn on the ads on my videos. And certainly with the newer content and newer plans not selling as well, the ads on the video make about as much as the plans most of the time. Actually, usually more. And I had been thinking about making a Patreon account. In fact, I did make a Patreon account a year ago, but I haven't announced it in any videos or even mentioned it or anything like that because I intended to be there just for people who are looking for me on Patreon. I don't really want to ask for that sort of thing. I don't want to say, hey, support me on Patreon, because that creates an obligation if people are paying me monthly that I should keep up with the content, and that's just really hard these days between kids home and pandemic and new baby. I'm just not creating content at the rate that I used to. So I wouldn't want people to be paying me monthly for content that might not be there. And of course the other option is to have it per video, but then I'd feel every time I put out a video that might not necessarily be of the best quality, am I just milking my patrons by creating junky videos? So neither of these options is terribly appealing to me. But on that front, I have to say YouTube ads have been getting a bit too much lately. YouTube changed their thing where they automatically turned on mid-roll ads on everybody's videos, whether the creators wanted it or not, and I just feel like I'm really getting spammed with YouTube ads lately. And I've gone for about 3 years without an ad blocker on my computer just because all the ad blocker type websites that it got too annoying. But with YouTube ads being as intense as they are now, I put an ad blocker on, and so should you. Which of course is silly for me to say that if I'm making money on YouTube ads, but I don't know, you gotta draw the line somewhere. And I actually had the idea of creating a fake sort of product for my website, which would just be a sort of like a PayPal indulgence. I'd call it Absolution for Ad Blocking, and just charge a few dollars for it, say, you know, like maybe $8. So if you buy that, to relieve you of guilt of using an ad blocker on my videos, because if you buy any plan at all really, that is as much money as I'll probably ever make off of you from advertisement. Some of the videos that do really well, I might get something like half a cent per view. 0.1 cent is quite often, and some of them much lower than that. In fact, the most popular videos tend to be lower that way. So if you buy any plan at all, that supports me way more than you sitting through advertisements. And every time somebody emails me, yeah, I always let the ads play to completion when I'm watching your videos, I always reply like, don't waste your time. Your time is worth more than that. It's not worth it for that quarter of a cent I'll probably get from that for you to spend minutes watching some stupid ad. But anyways, it would have been an awful lot of work to create this fake certificate, because then I'd want to make it so it would have your name in it and all that, and it's like, just too much work. But rest assured, absolution for ad blocking is included in any plans purchase implicitly. Anyways, back to the chairs. They have flat seats, and a number of people commented that they aren't sculpted, and they really should be. I'm not so sure, but I thought I'd do some experiments. So I've got a blank for trying to carve a butt imprint into, and it's thick enough that I can carve that in both sides, because it probably won't work right the first time. And this is going to be my guide. This part is supposed to be the really clever part. Not sure if that'll work. If it's a complete fail, I'll only make an Instagram post about it. Then other things I've been up to lately, I found this trampoline in the garbage, and it was missing the vinyl that went over between here. That was completely cracked because it was kept outside. So I tied this carpet on there, which I actually sewed on there with some string. And to get that through there, I had to punch through with a knife first, and then I sort of made a needle and thread out of coat hanger wire, and I just used some of the sash cord, and that tied it on there really nicely. So that's a technique that really worked. Maybe some of you will find that useful. And this is nice and thick so that they're not going to go through that. And then I added some feet to it. I drilled a hole just a little bit bigger than the feet, and I just stuck some more of that sash cord in there to make it on there tight. And other things I'd like to do is to make a new hardwood tabletop for the table up in the kitchen. That could be a nice video, build a router table, and maybe once all that's done, someday I'll get to building my next big bandsaw. But that could take a long time.